people saying yes, get behind us. Now, so you got a nice park plan and you've got a plain block wall. Well, we kind of looked back and said, we can probably do something here. And we know some guy who is an artist, but also a magician, and his concepts and just pull us away. So Mr. Eric Brody is here. Where are you? There you are. So our favorite son. We reached out to him. He was in town about a year ago for Joe Payton's retirement from the Chamber of Commerce. We met with Eric and Kathy and kind of gave them our ideas. And Eric has been in retirement, and because this place is so special to him, we pulled him out of retirement. And he started working right away. And John and Kelly were testing, the pictures were coming, were just blowing us away. It's like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. And to see what came into reality is just even more incredible. But Eric also asked us if he could toy around with some of the designs of the sidewalks in the park. And with Lynn's permission, we did that. And so Eric is not only responsible for the wall, but he worked with Lynn to help design this park here too. So what you see here in the different twists and turns and curves and how your eye moves in certain areas, and that's due to those two gentlemen. So, but to be able to do that, we had no money. We could put the wall up, but we had nothing to decorate it. So, we reached out to Bob Hiltbrand, plant manager at the time, and Timken. And Bob said, well, how much do you need? Well, I went in with a figure in mind. And he said, how much do you need to get the whole thing done? So I was thinking about, okay, let's maybe do a couple sculptures, let's do a little bit this and that, and add some things that really will set it off. And so we asked for $110,000. So maybe we'll get 20 or 30. Guess what? They came through with the whole thing. $110,000. Can you imagine that grant? Mr. Tim Hicks is here. Now Bob's moved on, been promoted. Tim is our new plant manager. Tim, we welcome you to the community. We're so glad you're here. It's been such an important part of the community for so many years. So thank you for that generous donation. I've seen many other donors out here. $50, $25, up to $5,000, and we thank you for everything. Couldn't have been, every donation is so important. Now, before we have a few speakers who will address you briefly, I want to single another guy out here who deserves special recognition, Mr. Doug Godwin, right? So, Doug, now the first thing Doug did, and I as a merchant, you remember when this downtown was torn up, and they had to rebuild the downtown and how rough it was on business? Doug went through that a few years back, but Doug closed during the demolition. How long were you closed, Doug? Yeah, for 2 weeks. So a retail business, is closed for 2 weeks. That's quite a burden. Did Doug complain? No. He was doing this before the place was good. Yeah, and we thank you for that. And the other thing he did for us, he allowed us to save well over $100,000 by allowing us to tie into his wall with structures there too. So he was gracious enough to do that. And he's also doing another. You noticed his front of his building? What made you pick that color, by the way? Did Eric have he got a trademark on that color, no? Okay. Well, thank you for that. It just shows you how the business community and the public can cooperate to move the city forward. Work all over together. You might want to consider running for city council. You'd be perfect with that. So. Oh, speaking of city council, I would be remiss to Sislav, our council president, Joyce, chief our auditor, Mr. Ross. Since I saw Mr. Ross here, am I missing anybody? Mr. McKeever's here. Mr. O'Rourke's here. Yes, thank you all for serving the community. And then before I turn over to speakers, I want to say a couple a few other people that are so critical from the city workers. Mr. Wagner over here, who doesn't like to get any publicity, but he's really right. There's a reason. But he's got a mind of a retailer, you know, because he's done the grocery business all the years. And the mind of a retailer is to serve and, you know, push people. And he takes that to city business. He likes to say yes to people. Unless you pay your water bill late, then that's a little different. So, Mr. Reber, he's representing the city workers who did a lot of the work here. Raise your hand. Thank you, Mr. Reber. Kelly Tuttle, I want to thank her administrative assistant. Did such a fine job of this too, keeping everything straight. And the last guy I want to thank in the city is Mr. Rostash taking the pictures. I don't know, John, if you remember January, we had another obstacle with delays and funding and deadlines, and then you came in the office after that. I was sitting back in my chair and said, John, this part's gonna be the death of me. And John leaned over and said, no, you're gonna change the narrative. You're gonna get through this. So I appreciate when you did that too. It slapped me in the face a little bit. Then we went on. You got it. Thank you for that. Okay, now, a few people that are going to share their remarks with you. Already mentioned Senator Burke. We're going to have him first. Senator, this is the first thing. I'm going to talk to Senator Burke today on the way down. I told him, you know, we still need a stage here. He said, okay, let's get it in the budget. Let's get it in the budget. That's a can-do senator. So we thank you for everything you've done for us in obtaining this. So would you mind coming forward? Senator Dave Burke.
Thank you for giving me a moment to speak with you today. On the drive up, the name that kept going through my head was Mayor Moore. And Roger, I know you're here in some form. Thank you for your leadership of this great community. I had one regret. When I came into your state senate office in 2011, I stopped by and saw Roger. And I asked a question I should never have asked him, which is, what would you like me to do for you? That resulted in a laundry list of things to do for Bucyrus. But one of them intrigued me particularly, and it was, Dave, we have a building in downtown, and it needs to either be refurbished or come down. And having grown up in Marion, knowing the Bratwurst Festival, having family here in Bucyrus, I believe in this community. And that has shown through today. So in spite of the hardships of finding issues like asbestos in the building, all the funding issues, lo and behold, one capital bill had an art project provision in it. And I called Mayor Moore up and I said, I think we may have a vehicle to get this done. And the state was able to participate in a meaningful way, but the state is a small portion of what happened here. I knew this community, and I knew it would come around a common cause, because people in small towns do just that. And that's what makes Bucyrus a great place to live. And when I sat down with the finance chairman in the Senate and told him what I was doing, all the 33 senators sit down and do the same thing. But I said, have you ever driven through Bucyrus and noticed that artwork that's on the buildings and the cleanliness of that community? That's not state dollars, that's local care, that's local initiatives. Those are the people of that community, and I promise you they'll do the same for this park. And lo and behold, here we are today. We can check this off our list. I meant what I said to the mayor. We do have another capital bill coming up late this winter, early spring. And if he's looking for a stage, I couldn't help him at the wall, but I'm hoping I can twist the arm of our state representative to join me in that initiative. Wes, I love you. Let's get this done. And hopefully continue that legacy on of a community that supports itself. These are not expenditures, they're investments. And I'm happy to be a small part of what's happening here today. Sis, thank you for your unguiding leadership. Everyone on City Council, the city workers, the businesses that made all this happen. I'm just thankful to be a small part of it, and I look forward to continuing that work in the time I have left as your state senator. Thank you.
We're glad to have you in Columbus. There's another guy here we're glad to have in Columbus who he doesn't know he's on the list to speak today, but would you mind saying, share a couple words?
of State Rep Wes Goodman.
I was joking when I got here. I thought we already dedicated this thing. I remember standing out there before the Bratwurst Festival. We'll do it again. It's a great art park. I'll just echo what Dave said. There is something special and unique happening in Bucyrus. There is something special and unique happening in small towns across the state and country. It's not, we sometimes look around and get frustrated with what we see in Washington or what we see in Columbus. It's important to remember on mornings like this that that's not the best of America. This is the best of America. That it is people coming together that see a need, that see something that they want more in their community, make a decision that we're not going to be defined by the things that divide us. We're not going to be defined by the negativity that we sometimes see on the news and in our politics. We're going to be defined on the things that we make a decision to come together and do to serve our community, to work hard and leave it a little bit better for the next generation. That's the promise of this country. That is what makes us special and unique in world history. And it's happening right here this morning in Bucyrus, Ohio. So it's really my honor to get to serve you. The things that Dave and I have the privilege to do in Columbus do have meaning, do have significance, but it's what you guys are choosing to do here to make a difference in your community, to be willing to stand up and say that we are bigger than our problems, we are bigger than our challenges, and we are going to make sure that Bucyrus continues to be a great place to live, work, raise a family, and live the American dream. So thank you for giving me the chance to serve you. Thank you for giving me the chance to fight for our principles and values down in Columbus. And it's an honor to work with folks like Jeff and Sis and the rest of the team here in Bucyrus who are really doing a great job for you. So thank you so much and God bless.
Now, grant money just doesn't flow in your pockets and you spend it how you want to spend it. We have to have that managed, and the group that manages was Ohio Regional Department. I'm going to blow that. ORDC. Government has a lot of acronyms. It's something you'll have to tell me ORDC. I know what it is, but I just can't come to it. Mr. Dale Hartle here would like to say a few words. Thank you, Dale.
Thank you, Mayor. ORDC is Ohio Regional Development Corporation. We have worked with the city of Bucyrus for a number of years, as well as with the commissioners of the county. And we're really honored to have been asked to be a part of this. I remember a day a long time ago when Mayor Moore called me into his office. We were doing various other grant work for them and said, we have this facilities grant, which the senator helped, was largely responsible for bringing to the community. And he said, we really need help in managing the grant. I won't go into all the details of how you run a grant, but they have timelines and deadlines and responsibilities of fulfillment and so forth that have to be done. At the end of the day, that money has to go back to the state if it's not done properly. And so that's our forte, and that's what we did here. I will not take the time to mention all the people who were a part of this, but we're really honored to be a part of this. My staff has worked with the people of this community, with the mayor's office and so forth. We're gathered here today not only to celebrate the opening of a new park, but we're also here to permanently memorialize some history in Bucyrus. Today's event did not occur because of some small undertaking. Rather, it's the culmination of the vision of two mayors, a very capable service director and staff, council, Jeff Wagner, John Rostash, particularly spent a lot of time, Mr. McKeever, and a whole lot of others. Joe, it's really delightful to see you here and so forth. The mayor has done a very adequate job, a very good job of thanking all the people. And I think it's incumbent upon me to say that this mayor has carried on the vision of Mayor Moore, and he has done a yeoman's job of raising funds, keeping it on track, and helping to make this happen. It could have easily faltered along the way. So Mayor Reesner, thank you. For all of us, we thank you. Because he in fact raised funds far beyond what the grant money was. he picked up the phone and called many people. Some of you are here today, but a lot of others are not. And you folks, the city of Bucyrus, are very fortunate to have him, who has carried on this effort to do this park. The city of Bucyrus and Crawford County is going to be the recipient not only of this park now, but of the goodwill for this community for many, many years to come. Thank you, Mayor Reese.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. Thanks for those kind. Thanks for your encouragement along the way too. That meant a lot to all of us. And as soon as we get some more money, we're going to call you to help manage it. All right.
We will be there together.
All right. Great. Great. I'd like to call forth Tim Hicks from Timken Foundation and Timken Manufacturing. Talk a little. Give us a short address too. Thanks, Tim. Welcome to the community again.
Thank you, Mayor. Great turnout here. Glad to be part of the community. Moved here in May, so getting to know a lot of people. I made my first visit to Bucyrus back in 1997, I believe. I've worked for Timken for quite a few years in various locations, and I can recall everyone telling me, well, go out to lunch, go look at the murals. You got to go look at the murals. And I didn't really know what they were talking about at the time, but drove downtown and checked it out and was fascinated by that, like most visitors to the town. So I still remember that, and as I had the opportunity to move to this community earlier this year, I jumped at the chance. There's a lot of history here between Timken and Bucyrus starting back in 1951, so I was proud to have that opportunity. In regards to the Timken Foundation, they've been around since 1934, and they love to do things like this. I've been fortunate to be a part of that at other locations in small towns like this, and it's so impactful to see what grants and what things like that can do for the community. I also had the opportunity to bring Jack Timken here back in May while everything was still under construction.
Haven't seen him for a while.
Jack Timken is an interesting
I'm retired from
individual.
Timken.
So several of you
Roger's
know him.
brother.
And so he's always been part of the foundation, never part of the business. And he enjoys
My dad retired from there and I retired from there.
seeing where the foundation invests and the impact on
Wow.
the community. So I look forward to bringing
Zeta
him
just
out here
retired.
and seeing the finished product. I know he'll be excited to see that. And once again, thank you for welcoming me to the community, and good luck with the Arts Park. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Another fixture in the community is Ohio Mutual Insurance Group. Some of the most generous people in the world work there, and they're on the board there. When I first became mayor, the first CEO I met with was Mr. Jim Kennedy, who taught me a lot. And I was fortunate to be able to go to his retirement party, and I know he would have been here today if he could, because this community means so much to him. In his place is Mr. Todd Boyer. Welcome, Todd.
Well, I do bring greetings from Jim, who wanted to be here but wasn't able to. Ironically, he's actually still working for Ohio Mutual, and he's off on a trip with our current CEO, Mark Russell. So I'm sharing greetings from both of them. One of the disadvantages of being the sixth guy who gets to speak this morning is most of the folks you wanted to recognize and acknowledge have already been acknowledged and recognized. So I will just add our ditto as an organization for those folks, because this really was an incredible public-private effort. Nobody carried the lion's share of the effort. Everybody carried a little bit, and it got us to this day. So it was 28 months ago that Jim Kennedy stood in the street over here to my right, your left, and announced a $50,000 gift to the city, because as you might imagine, it's very difficult to raise money for demolition. Everybody likes to contribute to construction, But few folks like to spend money on demolition. It's hard to raise money, but we recognized that if we could get over that hurdle, if we could get folks focused on the vision of what this space could be, that we would one day be able to celebrate like we are today. And so that was a great moment, a great opportunity for us to participate in our community, to be able to lead by example. And a lot of folks, a lot of organizations came alongside and got us to this point. So as several folks have said, much of the credit does go to our current and our former mayor here in Bucyrus. Roger Moore had a vision and started pushing and started looking for ways to make it happen. And then after he passed, Jeff picked up the mantle, kept encouraging, kept the momentum going forward, kept scrounging around for money, kept looking for help. Didn't have any shame asking anybody who was willing to pitch in any way, and got us to this place. So I'd just like to say that Ohio Mutual is really proud to have been part of what was a very collaborative effort to create this park, and we're thrilled to join our friends and our neighbors gathered here this morning and celebrating, dedicating, and presenting this wonderful community asset to this generation and future generations here in Bucyrus and Crawford County. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Todd. We got another speaker. We're gonna have the artist talk just a little bit, so, and then we'll wrap it up. But there's a guy that's sitting out right in front of me right over there. A little known fact about Joe Armbruster is he holds the Bucyrus City records for visits to the mayor's office. Yeah. You hold that record. Yeah. I don't think anyone's going to break it, Joe. Yeah, so
I don't want to be a pest.
no. Everybody, Joe's coming. Joe's coming. Joe's coming. I see Joe. There you. Well, no. Joe had, he had that bulldog quality, and he was the driving force for this project and to see it completed. We just we owe you so much, and the city can never thank you enough for what you did. And I know, Todd, like Todd said, and everyone else said, it was a community effort, and you don't want to. You're humble, but come on up here. We're gonna have you speak a little bit and let everybody recognize you for what you did. When we're all done, we will have the bronze plaque of the major donors and the people who were instrumental, and your name's going to be on that plaque in perpetuity. So here you go, Joe.
Thank you, Mayor. You'll bear with me while I think about what's all been said so far this morning from these people and all the help that they have done for us. Now I'm very gracious to have had the opportunity to work with Roger Moore, and when we got the deed for this lot, it was pretty good when we got the deed to take down the building. So we, and I was the president of the Bucyrus Community Theater, the organization that was here trying to save the theater. And the theater was closed by a fire in August 1991. And I started talking to the owner back in the year 2000, and he finally turned over the deed in 2007. Took him a long time to make up his mind. But however, I also want to remember Roger Moore. I didn't have too many sessions with him, but I had enough sessions that we got the deed of the theater and had it deeded to the city. It was actually deeded to Bucyrus Community Theater, which was an organization that we had organized to try to save the building. And we did everything we could, but pardon me. But it was